Most people think their relationships fail because of the other person, because they didn't try hard enough, because they didn't care enough, because they weren't the right one. And for a while, that's what you probably told yourself too. That maybe if things were different, if they communicated better, if they showed up more, if they just understood you, then it would have worked. But the truth is, it was never just about them. Because the real reason your relationships don't work is the role you put yourself in. And the hardest part about that, most people don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're just loving someone. They think they're just being patient, understanding, independent, or low maintenance. But what they're actually doing is playing a role they learned somewhere along the way, a role shaped by past relationships, by childhood experiences, by fear of being abandoned or not being enough. And those roles feel normal. They feel natural. They feel like this is just who I am, but they're not. They're patterns. And those patterns quietly destroy every relationship you enter. Because when you play a role, you're not being yourself. You're adjusting. You're performing. You're becoming who you think you need to be, just to make it work. And that's where everything starts to fall apart. Some of you don't fall in love. You try to save people. You meet someone who is clearly not ready, someone who has baggage, someone who struggles with consistency, someone who doesn't show up the way you need. And instead of walking away, you stay, not because it feels right, but because you see potential. You see who they could be, and that becomes the version of them you fall in love with. That's not who they are, but who you believe they will become. So you stay patient. You give them time. You give them understanding. You give them chance after chance after chance. You tell yourself, they're just going through something. They didn't mean it. They will change. And slowly, you start making excuses for behavior that once bothered you. At first it's small, then it becomes patterns, and then it becomes the relationship. And without realizing it, you start lowering your expectations, not because you want to, but because you think, if I just hold on a little longer, it will all pay off. But it doesn't, because love isn't supposed to feel like a project. It's not something you build by fixing someone else. And the hardest truth to accept is this: you can't love someone into becoming who you need them to be. And the more you try, the more you lose yourself in the process. Some of you can't relax in love, even when things are going well. Your mind doesn't let you enjoy it. There's always a question in the back of your head. Something feels off. Something feels uncertain. So you start thinking, and thinking, and thinking. You replay conversations. You reread messages. You analyze tone, timing, and energy. You notice small changes and turn them into bigger meanings. You ask yourself, why did they say it like that? Why did they take longer to respond? Why do they feel different today? And even when nothing is actually wrong, you feel like something is. So you keep searching for answers. You keep looking for signs. And eventually, you find them. Or at least, you convince yourself you do. Because over time, your anxiety starts to feel like intuition. Your fear starts to feel like truth. And that's where things shift. You stop responding to reality and start reacting to what you think is happening. And that creates tension, even when there was none. Distance, even when there was connection. And slowly, you start pushing away the very thing you were afraid of losing. Not because you didn't care, but because you cared so much. You couldn't feel safe. Some of you lose yourself trying to be chosen. You become what they need. You adjust to what they want. You shape yourself around the relationship. Instead of standing firm in who you are, you avoid conflict. You avoid saying things that might upset them. You tell yourself, it's not a big deal. It's fine. I will just let it go. Even when it's not fine. Even when it bothers you. Even when it slowly eats at you. Because deep down, you're afraid. Afraid that if you speak up, if you set boundaries, if you show your true self, they will leave. So you stay agreeable. You stay easy. You stay low maintenance. But here's the problem. When you build a relationship like that, they're not choosing you. They're choosing the version of you that you created to keep them. And over time, that version becomes exhausting because it was never real. And eventually, you either lose yourself completely or you start to resent them for something they never even knew you were holding back. There are those of you who go the opposite direction. You don't get too close. You don't open up fully. You keep parts of yourself guarded. Not because you don't care, but because you've learned that caring too much comes with consequences. So, you protect yourself. You keep your emotions in check. You don't express everything you feel. You don't let people get too close. You tell yourself it's better this way. That being chill means you won't get hurt. That not needing anyone makes you strong. But the truth is, it's not strength. It's protection. And while it keeps you safe, it also keeps you disconnected. Because real connection requires vulnerability. And vulnerability requires risk. And if you never take that risk, you will never fully experience what you are actually looking for. There's the healthiest version of you, the one that isn't playing a role, the one that isn't trying to fix someone, isn't overthinking everything, isn't losing themselves, isn't holding back out of fear. This version of you just exists as you are. You're not trying to impress them. You're not trying to keep them. You're not trying to prove your worth. You're just being yourself, fully, honestly, without shrinking, without performing, without pretending. And if that's not enough for someone, you don't chase, you don't convince, you don't try harder. You let them go because you understand something now that you didn't before. The right person doesn't require you to become someone else. So the question isn't, why didn't it work? It's, who are you trying to be? Because until you stop playing roles, you will keep repeating the same patterns with different people, in different relationships, with the same ending. So before you blame the relationship, ask yourself what role you've been playing in it.